Brendan Rodgers got the result that he was hoping he would get.
And they couldn't have got a better team to play against because Nottingham Forest are all over the place. And as their manager spoke about on Sky last night, he talked about he does look frightened at the moment, Cooper, to be honest.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit like a rabbit in the headlines whilst trying to push back against the narrative that he knows the reporters are creating by addressing the narrative and saying, I know you've got to ask these questions. But talking about the fact he's got a disparate group of players that don't play together, that don't know one another, he hasn't got a team. They're not cohesive. So with that, you would expect a half-decent Premier League side to go through Nottingham Forest like knife through a butter. And with a team that had a desperate need and a very calm during this process, Brendan Rodgers. You know, if you're getting paid £10-15 million a year and you can afford to be calm because you know you're going to get paid and maybe you'll lose a job for 5 minutes, you'll be back in the game.
I'd be calm for that.
You'd be calm, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, Leicester have addressed a current situation. They need to absolutely and categorically build on that. I think they've got some games coming up that I think they can. But Forest are roughly where I thought they'd be. I know when I said at the beginning of the season that I thought Forest would be in and amongst it, there was cue outrage from Nottingham Forest fans because if you say anything that doesn't follow a party line that everything's wonderful,
that's right,
then ultimately you're the devil incarnate. But they're in trouble, and they're in trouble for a variety of reasons.
Well,
and tragically, I think Cooper's in trouble. I don't think he should be, but I think the owner is irrational.
Mananakis.
I was thrilled when Crystal Palace got promoted. It was the team that I supported, that my father played for, that I loved, right? But I didn't go out either speak to Sky or anybody, or certainly make promises about Crystal Palace going into the Premier League and winning trophies. So whilst you get that moment of absolute exuberance, then you hear the analysis of the owner saying, I can do anything I set my mind to. Then you see this irrational £150 million spend. And I spoke to a chief executive of a Premier League club last week, or actually yesterday, that said to me, every player we were in for, Forest were in for, and they were almost 3 times the price. So we were getting played. Forest were the stalking horse for everybody that we went in for.
Good God.
Every player.
Well, somebody's going to pay for that, aren't they?
And the person that's going to pay for it, because I believe that the owner won't stay patient to Cooper, and I think it's a huge mistake, because even if Forest didn't stay in and they went down, they would be in better hands with Cooper unless he completely loses himself and loses all confidence and belief. And it's beginning to show that he is a little bit.
Post-match last night, he was asked that very question. Are you concerned about your own future?
Well, I'm not thinking about that. I understand where the question comes from. I'm not thinking about my personal situation apart from how I can be at my best every single day. And the sort of tougher it gets, the harder it gets. I know the more I work and the more it means to me, because hopefully that's what leadership is standing up and being counted and trying to be a role model in the training ground. So running results that's not good, and I'm not going to shy away from that. But my negative feelings at the moment is nothing to do with myself. It's just about this club has lost another game, and it means a lot to me.
So that was Steve Cooper last night. Forest have 4 points in their opening 8 games. They've now suffered 5 straight defeats. When you say he's like a rabbit in the headlights at the moment, Simon, do you think Steve Cooper is out of his depth at this moment?
No, he's not out of his depth. He's in a very difficult position. Graham Souness alluded to it yesterday about a time at Torino when he was given a group of players that he didn't want. I'm beginning to hear, albeit that people are motivated when they say these things, that only about 4 or 5 of the players that were signed were actually at Cooper's bequest. I find that perplexing, but given the owner has a very strident view of what he thinks he can achieve, you can only achieve things in football via football people. You can set the standards, right, and you can tolerate their nonsense, but the football people, in terms of the ones that manage your team and the ones that recruit for you, are the ones that you have to listen to. When you work out that either they're saying good things or bad things, then you cut to the chase. But right now, Cooper is not out of his depth. What he is in an uncomfortable position. Now, he's got to get himself together. He's got to make sure that no background noise. Now, how many times he's asked about his job that it even knocks him out of his stride, and he's trying to present that picture. I'm in my stride. I understand. I want to be the best version of myself. All I want to do is win for Nottingham Forest. It's a lovely narrative. It's playing to the gallery. You need to double down hard and get yourself out of this situation of adversity. I personally have always felt Nottingham Forest would find themselves in a very difficult position this season, because it's really hard to go in the Premier League, and there should be no reason why they should be any different. Teams have spent a lot of money like Fulham and had the same fate, but the splattergun approach to spending £150 million to buy a random group of players that are probably overpriced, that you've had your pants pulled down. We all have it happen to us. Now, Cooper has got to just get his head in gear and pick the games they can win, and pick the games that they can perform in.
If he's given the time to do that,
and he needs to be he needs to be given the time, unless he suddenly, you find the only thing that's holding him up is his tracksuit bottoms. If that's the case, then you're in a different situation.
And
but
of course,
please God, don't start talking to me about Rafa Benitez.
I was coming with it. The behind the scenes, I'm hearing stories that he might not be interested in. I'm hearing stories that he might be interested in it.
If this guy,
would he be the right choice even remotely at this particular point in time?
How do you pronounce his surname? Marinakis? If this guy Marinakis fires Steve Cooper, he deserves Rafa Benitez. He deserves all the trouble Rafa Benitez will bring him, all the division, all the backdooring, all of the things that Rafa Benitez has brought to most football clubs, including doing deals that don't always make sense to the football club. He deserves all of that.
Rafa kept Newcastle up in this position.
No, he didn't. He relegated them. Then he got them promoted. He came in at the end of the season, took them down, and got them promoted with a Premiership club, with a Premiership squad in the Championship. And then, when they were up, he played the most pedestrian, boring brand of football.
But kept them up.
And kept them up. Sure, but they weren't in that position. He took them up from the Championship.
You've got to think about Benitez, haven't you?
Because I don't like people like Benitez. I think they are divisive. I think they're self-motivated. I think their agenda is to achieve the very best outcome for themselves, which we all have. But you have to bring other people with you. So I look at Benitez, and is he a capable football operator? Yes, he is. Can he do anything different with a squad of 21 players that probably don't even know one another's second name right now, and put them together as a team? I don't think he's going to do anything better than Cooper. I think Cooper is a young manager that is the future of Nottingham Forest, and will build Nottingham Forest with stability and build a platform. And I hope Nottingham Forest fans think the same. If they don't, they'll no doubt tell us. But my view is if this guy takes Cooper out now, and football has short memories, and it's entitled to have short memories, because I'm the first person to say there's no more deserving case for the sack sometimes than some of these revolting managers in the way that they operate. Right? And if Graham were here, he'd push back against that. But the point is that you bring in Benitez, you deserve everything you get.
You don't often hear the words stability and Marinakis in the same sentence. Do you fear for Cooper?
Yes.
You think he'll go?
I think that if he loses a couple more games, and the manner in which he loses them is any way reflective of the result against Leicester, and I hope it's not, because you can't allow it to keep on that way, I fear that a person that's prepared to make statements with great emotion like he did to you, to spend 150 million in a marketplace during the summer, that it makes no sense with the players he's acquired. Yeah. I think that he would have the propensity to go, this guy doesn't fit anymore. I don't see the bigger picture. I see the here and now, out. And I fear that fate might be awaiting Cooper. But he's still got some wind in his sails to change that direction.
I like that message from Danny. Don't worry, Forest fans. It's us you play next. Danny's a Villa fan. So what do you think? Forest fans, I mean, we hate saying it because he's still in a job. He's not out of a job. But do you think it's time up for Steve Cooper? Just so that you might reboot and someone else comes in with a fresh approach and tries it his way.
And I've changed my tune on Cooper because I called him a bridesmaid a year ago.
I know.
So, it's not me having a love him because it suits me too.
Well, he mentioned that to me at Wembley in all seriousness when they beat Huddersfield to go up. And he said, but I understand people have got their opinions of me and the right to have them, whatever they think. But we've done it today. Well, they didn't do it last night and they haven't been doing it back in the top flight. Is it time for Steve to go? 03717 223344 81089.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.